Nolan Arenado, his agent is Joe Wolf, and Nolan Arenado, from what we can tell now, is in a very likely position to be traded. Now, why is Joe Wolf involved with a trade? That is because Nolan Arenado has a no-trade clause. And there is precedent for this, which is basically when a player has a no-trade clause, which is something that was negotiated by Joe Wolf, as we know, and the team is wanting to trade Nolan Arenado and the player is willing to be traded, that no-trade clause means that he gets to say what teams he's willing to even bother with. And so that is part of Joe Wolf's job, is to make that communication to the Cardinals front office and say, these are the teams he's willing to go to. These are the teams whose phone calls you should return. Because otherwise, it's a complete waste of time for all the teams involved if Joe Wolf and Nolan Arenado have no interest in Nolan Arenado playing, with the Rockies again, for example.
The Marlins, he doesn't want to play for the Marlins, so the Marlins are not going to call and spend time discussing a Nolan Arenado trade with the Cardinals. Here's what I will say about the Arenado situation. The overwhelming consensus is that he's getting traded, and that his desire to be traded stems from a pseudo promise made to him that the Cardinals were going to contend within the timeline of his contract. Remember, he opted in to the remainder of his deal for less money probably than he could have gotten on the open market, because he was happy in St. Louis and he thought that they were going to win. That has not been the case, and it does not seem that it is going to be the case. And so it is completely fair, in my mind, for Arenado to want to be traded. And I would be shocked, floored, flabbergasted even, if we got to February 1st and Nolan Arenado was still an employee of the St. Louis Cardinals.
We might not get to January 1st. It seems like this is something that is heavily tied to Alex Bregman's decision. Obviously, if you are interested in a third baseman and you want to spend money, that could be giving Alex Bregman $180 million. That could be taking on the rest of Nolan Arenado's contract, which I believe is another 3 years and over $70 million or so, which is expensive for a player that has clearly declined in recent years, but he is still a starting quality third baseman and someone that would make teams better. And so as for who those teams are that he is interested in playing for, I mean, it's easy. You could pull up the teams that have massive third base holes, and some of them are, contenders like Houston as it stands, right? I think that would make a ton of sense as a pivot if Bregman does indeed go elsewhere. I mean, the Tigers, I guess, fit in that bucket as well if they are looking for a veteran presence and don't want to pay. But again, it's like, how much money are you pitching in there? Then you have the Yankees, right, are the other obvious one that are going to come up in this conversation, depending on what Bregman's decision is, and the Red Sox as well, if they are indeed willing to move Rafael Devers. Although Alex Cora yesterday was pretty much like, why are people talking about Rafael Devers moving to first base? Now, maybe Alex Cora has a good poker face, and they've already been talking about that, but I don't know. I'm still skeptical that Devers would end up moving to first base at this stage, but I could be wrong there. And then maybe there are other teams, and I think the quote from Joe Wolf today was that it's more teams than you would think have asked about Arenado, and maybe that means it's more teams that you would think that he would be willing to go to. I don't know. It's the early stages of that, but the fact that he could be on the move again, and the fact that he won more postseason games with the Rockies than he did with the Cardinals the answer is to that is one game, is a pretty shocking reality for this player who, you could argue is right a future Hall of Famer. So it's a very interesting career arc that his next chapter, where he is going to hopefully, try and go win a little bit more than he has so far, is going to be pretty interesting.
Wow. That's a crazy stat.
Yeah.
Shouts out Tony Wolters.
That's exactly correct. That game, one of my favorite postseason games of the last however many years, was the Rockies beating the Cubs.